I just like to keep them as genres that are totally uniquely beautiful and independently, you know. And I think that the problem is when you ask the electronic world to give you a cheap version of the other.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. So, and so I just make it a point in my own production that I just don't do that. I just don't do it. And like I say, I tell the producers, well, I'm just not going to do it. It cheapens your project. So if you want orchestra, let's just, like I say, I'll get on the phone with you. I'll figure it out. You know, low budget scale, whatever all the, you know, the union is bending over backwards to keep this alive too. There's plenty of people on your side. Let's just get them all together and do it right. And then when you need the electronic sound, go and get the electronic sound, and it's the perfect thing for that moment. Right? And as long as I think that is respected, then the people will come forth who will want to play the violin, who will want to write a concerto for a superb violinist, so that tradition will have a future, and it does have a future. So concern is not something. I just think it's there, and it can be nourished.
Well, I think I was echoing, that's a great point. I was echoing to what Alex is saying. In other words, if the technology does get so good, Mark, that someday we don't hear the difference. I mean, that's the only concern, because, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't, that's just me, I guess. I'm of an era. I think more composers should learn how to conduct. There is such a difference in performance level when I'm conducting, as opposed to times, I kind of do it half and half. When I have another very fine conductor out there conducting my music, it sounds a certain way. When I'm out there, it sounds a different way. So I guess all I'm saying is, I bemoan, I hope that we don't lose the human factor. God forbid there's ever a time when, you know, some incredible library down the road, an iTunes-ish, you know, YouTubefilmscore.com. That's all I'm saying, and I think we're all saying the same thing. You know,
we should
as long as there's that human involved.
Well, that's just because you want to gig.
Yeah, that's because I don't. Yeah, I think we all still want to work.
What is the tool? Is it technology?
We should field some questions from the audience. And if you could just stand up and speak loud, it'd be good.
I was thinking about the decision, which I'm sure you've encountered, to not use music. There's two instances I can think of. In those Jules Saint-Exupéry, there's a long robbery sequence in which they were persuaded not to use music. There's the murder sequence in Torn Curtain, the Hitchcock film, where he went against Bernard Herrmann's. Have you guys ever argued to the director, no,
yes, absolutely.
All the time.
Yes.
All the time. All the time.
Yeah. All the time. Yeah. But that Torn Curtain scene with music is pretty freaking good. You gotta admit. Bernard Herrmann piece with that there, I think.
Any instances that you could
$1 million a day, I mean, that's a lot.
I think composers probably pull music out of films more than they
Yeah,
usually
I
add
mean, often the composers are the ones that are saying, you know, you don't want music here. It's real well.
I actually got a job by telling the director that he didn't need any music in his entire film. I did. Nicolas Cage directed a film called Sunny, and he didn't want any music in it, and obviously, you know, he was under a great deal of pressure from other sources to sort of put music in his film and make it, I guess, palatable to people, you know. So I got a call to, you know, that he was interested in me looking at the film, and I watched it without music, you know. I said, it's great, don't put music in it, and he goes, you're hired.
It happened to me also, which I had a film, and I thought it didn't need music at all, so I said, this film doesn't need music, so I'm not working. I told you. Yeah, because in fact it had a music, no? It was a kind of fake documentary, you know, about some murder or something like that. And it had a piece of piano who this man played when he was a child. It was a wedding with singing, and the rest of the film was this documentary. So I thought, if I play music on top of this, the documentary will look like a teach film, just like a fiction. So it's no point to play music. So I'm not playing this. I'm not doing this. Bye bye. The director was very confused, but then he rented. He called to another musician, and at the end they made this music. And in the mixing, you can hear the music. Not at all. So it's like that. I was right, and I didn't cost any money to the producer.
Yeah, I have to say, sometimes we're the ones that secretly know that, like, we watch the movie and go, God, that scene works so well without music. But they put music in there, they intend to have music in there, and we're going to put music in there, but we know that that scene works great without music, sometimes better. You know?
I worked with Sidney Lumet once, who I walked into the meeting before he actually hired me, and he said, so Mark, I don't know if I had quite these numbers right, but it was something along this line. I've made 42 movies in my career, and 7 of them have had no music in them at all. And this could very well be number 8. And so we looked at the movie, and I said, well, it could be right. And he said, well, they're putting up the money to score this movie, so let's just pick out some spots and score it. So we picked out about 13 minutes worth of spots. I went and scored it. We're sending the demos, and the word came back is, no, you need more minutes. I said, well, where? He said, we don't care, just we need more minutes. And Sidney said, okay, Mark, write a few more minutes. I don't care where, but don't work too hard. I have final cut. Okay.
I found it really interesting to hear you guys talk about temp music, because as a young composer, I get your temp music in my, in films that I'm, up for, and it's really interesting to hear you guys talk about recreating your own music. Because I have a completely different challenge. It's basically I have to create my own identity in the face of you guys taking over this, complete industry. And so my real question for you is this: that how does a new person with a new vision create a new identity in the face of so much repetition and so much recycled score? And it's just basically...
that's tradition, no? So repetition, but it's also tradition. That's a good thing, no? We also build over the things others did before, no? Other people did before us.
Shut it off, turn the temp score off and watch the movie and find an arc and find this place in your heart that it really comes from and sell that.
That's
real stuff.
I'll just chime in really quick. Yeah, I'm sure we'll all have different answers or a little bit. I'm kind of a chameleon. I used to bemoan the fact that, people like Danny Elfman, who I admire greatly, when you hear Danny's piece of music, it's Danny. I'm kind of a chameleon in that regard. I'll do one that's a little like this. So I think that, and it's probably true for all of us, it's sort of over time trying to find your own bag of tricks. Personally, I bemoan the fact that I didn't hear a lot of filmmakers saying, I just want a great melody. So I would invite you to just become a melodist and, well,
yeah, I think a unique voice is very essential, and I think I've always looked at the film composer job as sort of being on a gradient. At one end you have a guy who can give you a James Brown and a Haydn string quartet, and pretty much anything you can get. At the other end you have someone who does what they do, and that's all they do, and it's one niche, and it's beautiful, but it's only going to work in a few places. And I've always thought it's sort of best to be 15-20% towards that guy, because it's longevity in the business. It's get me John Williams, get me someone who sounds like John Williams, or get me a composer. I'd rather be leaning over there, even though it might be harder to get work in the beginning, it might be harder to get consistent work, but I think over the long term, it's more fun, it's more rewarding, and I think it's a longer term investment in yourself.